for those of you Zendaya fans and Tom Holland, she revealed a small lowercase t tattoo on her side, widely read as a Tom tribute. Also could be that she's a Train fan, the band, or Tobacco, or Tunerville Trolley.
Could be anything that starts with the letter T. Tom Cruise.
Right, any number of things. We're really not sure. And my wife has yet to get an R on her side. We'll see if that happens. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the I Just Want This Done Divorce podcast. We are rocking and rolling. We're live and worldwide, coming at you with a fully loaded episode. We've got tater tots. We've got barbecue. We've got your favorite snacks. We're piled high with ammo. This one's super juicy. We promise, okay? Tease and please. We're going to please. Okay. Zendaya and Tom Holland may have secretly gotten married. Dun, dun, dun. Nobody was invited. Remember, we'll talk about what we think about secret weddings. Those of you who are fans of the show know our thoughts about it, but we'll talk about it soon. 83-year-old billionaire David Geffen just settled a 2-year divorce with his 2-year marriage with no prenup. And hold on. We want prenup. We want prenup. He should have gotten a prenup. And a 9-figure mess with his 32-year-old boy toys. I had to say boy toys, sorry. And that guy accused him of hiding his assets. Well, you have billions. You got to keep it somewhere. We're going to show you exactly how spouses try to hide money in the year 2026. Spoiler alert, involves Bitcoin. Probably not the Gorilla or Bored Ape Yacht Club tokens that you guys bought a few years ago. And NFTs that are now worth zero. Okay, welcome to I Just Want This Done Divorce Podcast. Okay, so Rahul, let's how's thing? We got tax season rolling here. This show will come up right after April 15th. Don't they say like we're done paying taxes to the government by like June or something like that? No.
I wish, right? No, it's unfortunately, I think we're always paying taxes. So you're paying taxes for the next year. So
you never can get ahead of the machine. We're in the Midwest, so we've got trees blooming. We've got robins out in the yard doing their thing, getting nests ready. Spring is blossoming. We've got the crazy Chicago weather where it's 30 degrees one day and 70 degrees the next day. That's part of the deal around here. So we just want to mention a couple of things. We both work for STG Divorce Law. We help smart, successful people get divorced in Chicagoland. We've been around for over 30 years, since 1994. And we're here to help you. Please reach out to us at stgdivorcelaw.com, stglawfirm.com. You can find us anywhere on social media or Google the law firm name. Very easy to locate. We're happy to do consultations with you if you're in the Chicagoland area. If you're not in the Chicago area and you're looking for help, still reach out to us. We can get you a referral anywhere in the United States and in Canada, because we do have friends north of the border. Yeah, hey there. Okay, so let's talk about, so we got some big stories we're talking about here. Zendaya's secret wedding, Geffen's situation with his divorce disaster, Gracie Hunt's engagement to NFL royalty, a congresswoman blindsided by divorce, the crypto divorce cliff, and how spouses are hiding Bitcoin. We'll tell you how they do it. We'll give you some ideas on how to catch them. So let's roll on into the Zendaya story, shall we? So can you tell us a little bit, Rahul, about Zendaya? I know Tom Holland. I don't know much about Zendaya. What's the scoop on her
she
situation?
Is a very, very popular American actress and singer. She has been in Disney. She's been she's in Euphoria. She's been in movies like Spider-Man. Super, super popular. Very good actress.
They say you've reached a certain age when they name like 10 celebrities and you don't recognize any of them. And I'm getting there where I know some of them because we do this show and I'll see some stuff on YouTube or whatever, or social. But other than that, sometimes I'll see a name and like, I haven't heard of the person. Oh, well. This is a great story. So Zendaya, at the 2026 SAG Actor Awards on March 1st, her longtime stylist, Law Roach, actual name, revealed that the Euphoria star and Tom Holland had privately gotten married and seemingly hinted at the hush-hush nuptials. This is me quoting the E! News story. We link all the stories in the notes, as always, so you can check out the original sources. So during a night out with film producer Josh Lieberman on February 18th, the 29-year-old swapped out her engagement ring designed by Jessica McCormick for what looked like a golden wedding band on that finger, emphasis on that. At the time, Rahul, she paired a simple piece of jewelry with a cream-colored jacket, black pants, and a matching sling purse, wearing her hair in a bob, similar to the do. This is me quoting, of course, I'm not this slick. She rocked the do, apostrophe D-O, when visited Tom's family in London. E! News reached out to Zendaya's reps for comment. Tom Holland said in an interview with Access Hollywood, "You missed it." Rahul, what do we say about these hidden weddings, the secret wedding?
Just like destination weddings and very long engagements, we wish you all the best, but there is an unfortunate pattern about success or lack thereof. So we hope for the best, though.
So, by the way, 5.02 carat engagement ring. That's a good size rock. Yeah, good job, Tom. She wore so she's been spotted with this wedding band on. Also, for those of you Zendaya fans and Tom Holland, she revealed a small lowercase t tattoo on her side, widely read as a Tom tribute. Also could be that she's a Train fan, the band, or Tobacco, or Tunerville Trolley.
Could be anything that starts with the letter T. Tom Cruise.
Right, any number of things. We're really not sure. And my wife has yet to get an R on her side. We'll see if that happens. Both are 29, so good, age appropriate as well.
Oh, absolutely. They've been dating forever, it feels like. So, yeah.
The stylist Law Roach, never heard of Law Roach, but I love the name, previously said it will probably be a wedding dress no one will ever see. There won't be a Vogue spread. Well, sorry to disappoint you. Combined estimate of net worth of $50 million, north of $50 million, and climbing. And Rahul, you're right. Dune, Euphoria, Spider-Man deals in production deals. Okay. A couple talking points. Are secret weddings valid? Sure they are. And yes, they're just as valid as anything else, but we're talking about, is it going to last? If you don't take it seriously and you're hiding it from the world, maybe that's an issue. You need a valid marriage license from your county. So it's got to be a marriage license and officiant. So they have to be a legit officiant, and some witnesses per state law requirements. But it's not a lot required. You can get married by a judge. You can get married in a private venue with no guests. That's why a Vegas wedding is legal. So, and also we have learned in a previous episode, we talked about a wedding that was done in a country in Africa that the woman thought wasn't a wedding, but it turned out to be a legal marriage in that country. So word to the wise, pay attention. It might be a legal wedding where you're at. California is a community property state. Without a prenup, future earnings are community property. So that's something to be aware of. I guarantee there's a prenup, but unless they have Geffen's lawyer, maybe not. This whole thing sounds like a privacy play. Their brand apparently is privacy. They're not people, at least that we've seen in the reading here. They don't put everything out online and everything like that. Quiet courthouse ceremony seems like exactly what probably happened. We talked in episode 14 about secret weddings. The list included Chris Evans, Julia Roberts, Dolph Lundgren. They had secret weddings. You've got like the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce energy here with that kind of vibe. Two big earners with massive careers. What would we advise, Rahul? What would you tell these folks before their wedding?
Well, number one, get a prenup. Number two, don't make it a huge deal. Number three, pretend like you aren't celebrities. What would you do? Do that.
That's a good point. Now, okay, so turning our attention to the David Geffen story. Brother. So tell us about this whole situation.
So we previously talked about David Geffen in a prior episode. He is an 83-year-old billionaire worth about $9.3 billion, made his money in music and film, and he married Donovan Michaels, whose, I believe, real name is David Armstrong, who's 33, in a private, so they kept it very secretive also, in a private Beverly Hills ceremony in 2023 with, wait for it, no prenup, and a 50-year approximate age difference. So Donovan Michaels was a former personal trainer and a go-go dancer. So they were married in 2023, and Geffen filed for divorce in LA in May of 2025, just shy of their 2-year anniversary, which was in July of 2025. It was not, unfortunately, meant to be. So Armstrong then filed a bombshell lawsuit claiming Geffen paid him thousands for sex, groomed him, and used drugs as tools of coercion in October of 2025.
Hey, so that raises a good point, Rahul. I think we might have talked about this kind of thing before. And I just do you mind if I cut in real quick on this? This guy was holding hand grenades. basically, like bombs for this guy's Geffen's situation. And Geffen's public image is crucial. If we were advising this guy, we would say, keep that bullet in the chamber. Don't go filing this thing. This is way more valuable to you held in reserve, because Geffen knows you can go public with this stuff. You want him to buy silence. Once you throw you pull the trigger, you can't pull the bullet back in, and now it's all out there. In my opinion, bad move on this guy's part. It's kind of like killing the hostage. You lose your bargaining power. Now what's Geffen have to lose?
Exactly. And he's got endless pockets, right? So
his only thing that's valuable to him more than money is his reputation.
Exactly.
Anyway, bad move on that guy's part, in my opinion. Please keep going. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, that's very, very good point. So in October of 2025, Armstrong withdrew the lawsuit and simultaneously accused Geffen of hiding finances to try and minimize whatever spousal support he would be slated to receive as part of the divorce. He called Geffen, quote unquote, according to this article, one of the world's richest, most powerful, and influential men who repeatedly yet falsely attempted to portray himself as an aging retiree.
Well, he's technically an aging retiree.
Oh, yeah. It depends on the word aging and retiree, I guess. So a definition of what those mean. I guess it sounds like Armstrong received a proposal of $50,000 per month in spousal support, also known as, or formerly known as alimony, for a New York City penthouse. And I'm sorry, no, it was rejected as insufficient. And he was, in the meantime, also paying $15,000. So the first one was 50. This is 15 per month for a New York City penthouse. However, earlier this week, so this is being, we're shooting this on April 9th. So this happened about April 7th or 8th. They signed documents that were, quote unquote, marked uncontested, where the parties, the two of them, agreed on all key issues regarding spousal support, property division, etc. The actual terms are not public yet. I'm suspecting that it might be leaked or it might become public soon, and so we'll reveal what the actual damage was to Geffen and what Armstrong received as part of this. But very interesting.
If we can get our hands on it, yeah, we're happy to. Sometimes this stuff is done secretly, quietly. We may not see it, but yeah.
I was gonna say, so the big thing here is if you're worth $9.3 billion, get a prenup, okay? You How do you forget or don't get a prenup when worth that much? I don't know.
It was true love. That's how.
Sure was. And it's California community property plus no prenup results in a usual default of 50-50. So it'll be curious to see what they, on anything that's considered community property. So it'll be curious to see what they actually ended up agreeing to. But, so hiding assets is kind of one of those things that happens a lot these days, especially in light of what all new technologies are available to hide assets. Like you have crypto, which is the biggest way to hide assets. So the question is, how are courts going to deal with that? How do they catch it? And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So we are teasing and pleasing, but you're going to have to wait a few more minutes till we get to that.
The other thing to think about here is when you've got somebody this wealthy, just the divorce litigation alone, just the discovery process alone, to find out where all this stuff is and what it's worth is an astronomical project.
Oh, yeah.
Just figuring out, even though it's a 2-year marriage, this guy's got income streams coming from a million directions because he's worth billions of dollars. He's got real estate. He's got intellectual property rights. He's got corporate entities. Whatever. It's a zillion things.
He's got corporations that hold corporations that hold corporations.
Yeah. And then businesses that hold real estate. And you have to value the real estate. You have to value the companies. And there's tremendous work involved in a case of this nature. And so reinforcing the need for a prenup, again, you just work out something, let's call it generous. Let's say there's a prenup that gives this guy $1 million a year, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Every year they're married, he gets X. Just boiling it down to a formula and in lieu of doing all that discovery is going to save a fortune in legal fees and grief. It's going to accelerate the process. And, it's one thing to say this guy gets nothing. And that might not be reasonable. What's reasonable might be you get something, but it's under controlled conditions. So we don't always say that the prenup is a shutout. The prenup creates a controlled landing. A great example we talked about fairly early in the show was the Kevin Costner prenup. His divorce was a great example of a prenup that worked. And he gave her a fixed amount, it was $1 million plus some additional money. Then there was child support, which you can't control in the prenup. But he controlled his damage, drastically reduced his exposure with this prenup. And that's where what's interesting is one take on this is he's so rich he doesn't care. Well, still,
Believe me, people will care.
it's a business risk for this guy too, for David Geffen. So it's not that the prenup would have shut this guy out. It's that it would have controlled the landing and said, okay, we after year one, you get X, after year two, you get Y, and so on and so on. And you manage the situation rather than just letting it go wild.
It's the same reason you get a will or a trust or you estate plan or you do business succession planning. I mean, you do these things so that there are contingencies.
Yep. Next, we're going to talk about this next story is really interesting. We've got Gracie Hunt has gotten engaged to the ex-Chiefs quarterback. So Gracie Hunt is the daughter of...
Son, right?
Sorry, thank you. Derek Green and Gracie Hunt have been engaged. So she's the daughter of the Chiefs billionaire owner. She, of course, shared the proposal on Instagram as one does. She was formerly Miss Kansas USA. So we got that going for you. Good job, dude. The video begins with Gracie riding off in a golf cart. Here we go. Gracie Hunt shares emotional video. This is from Y Entertainment. A proposal after engagement with the son of ex-Chief quarterback. Lovely. They're both wearing white and no socks on my dude here.
That's swag right there.
That's cool. Swagalicious. What do we got? Oh, it didn't really do much, but that's a bigger picture for you. She's lovely. They're all happy. That's good. POV walking towards your forever. All right. Good. And
here you go.
We have the Instagram. Can we open it? Will it work? We don't know. Share this instead. Let's see. Okay.
There we go.
It's a golf cart, which is so America these days. And she's laughing hysterically, and somebody's videoing the whole thing.
Maybe he's got on Meta AI glasses, so he's videoing himself.
Well, I'm guessing she's walking towards him. He's standing somewhere way down this thing. Oh, there he is. Oh,
there you go. Yeah, you're right.
We got the other photographer. You can't see in the left. There's somebody wearing black who's also videoing this thing.
Very sweet. It's very cool.
I didn't
very
have
nice.
3 photographers videoing my proposal to my wife.
And this is a giant surprise.
Yeah, she had
she's getting.
She had no idea. He looks sharp. Oh, wait, there's another photographer. Oh, well, this is amazing. Okay, good job. Shocker, we're getting married. Okay, this is what we're doing. All right, we don't want to bore you guys
incredible.
with this, but
yep.
We're very happy
cool.
for the couple here. So good for them. So anyway, the scoop is this. She's 26, a daughter of the Chiefs owner, Clark Hunt. The franchise value of the Chiefs, by the way, $6 billion per fourth. So she's loaded. So my dad always said you could marry more money in a minute than you can make in a lifetime. So good job, Derek Green. By the way, son of former Chiefs Super Bowl quarterback Trent Green. Proposal happened on April 4th, announced via the mandatory joint Insta post with both families present. We saw the whole golf cart arrival and a full fairy tale set up. So the Hunt family is one of the wealthiest families in American sports. Their wealth goes back to the oil fortune from H.L. Hunt and Lamar Hunt, who founded the AFL, American Football League. This is like a royal marriage. 2 families is a lot of money. It's not just a prenup. We're talking about trusts, companies, real estate, and business interests. We just talked about this with Geffen. This demands a complicated prenup. And probably an extensive one. Dynamic wealth protects itself, okay? The Hunt family, I guarantee, has all kinds of trust structures in place to protect their wealth. And I'm sure the NFL guy, has an elaborate estate plan and protection of his business. So the dad of this guy, the groom, played for the Chiefs. Gracie's dad owns the Chiefs. There you go. Mm-hmm. The families probably know each other well, which probably helps with prenup negotiations. These people both understand the situation. We don't have one of these drastic imbalances in finances where one person feels taken advantage of by the wealthy family.
Right.
These people both get it, so the negotiations probably will go fairly smoothly. This is probably a thing where both families have been on board and understand each other. And we couldn't see the engagement ring, so I have to see if this is going to be understated or we're going to talk about the one from Kelsey, the monster engagement ring.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see. But this is another one where we've got some performative stuff for the video, for the gram, as the kids do these days. And then we've got probably a gigantic prenup in the offing. So if you're a lawyer working on this case, we'd love to talk to you, but we'll keep it confidential, we promise. Okay. Rahul, tell us about blindsided divorce.
So this is about Congresswoman Hilary Scholten in Michigan in the 3rd Congressional District. So essentially, what this is that, Congresswoman Hilary Scholten shared that her husband of 20 years, Jesse Holcomb, filed for divorce after leaving their family home. And so they have 2 kids. This was on January 26th of 2026 in Kent County, Michigan. They have 2 children, James and Wesley. And so she shared this publicly via X, formerly known as Twitter, on April 3rd of 2026. She said, earlier this year, our family went through a heartbreaking change when my husband of 20 years suddenly left our family home and then filed for divorce. Pretty finger pointing, to be honest with you. It's a little bit disaligned from your normal. We're going through a tough process. We'd appreciate privacy to do what's best for the kids. Instead, it's like it feels a little finger pointy. So
it reminds me of the great President Bush.
Fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
So one wonders, was she really surprised? Were you really?
Yeah, or she was so surprised that she had to point fingers, right? So
that's an interesting point, Rahul. I've often thought this and said this before. If a potential client talks to me and says, I'm just shocked that they're leaving me, or that they just up and they're divorcing me. When you ask them any pointed questions, the signs are usually just red flags all over the place. So either they're ignoring the obvious information, or they're just choosing to keep their head in the sand and not pay attention, which is in and of itself a problem. I just find it hard to believe anybody is just absolutely blindsided by a divorce filing. Now, maybe they're blindsided by the filing of the case, but not the fact that somebody wants to get divorced. They might say, well, I would have thought we would have talked it out, or we negotiate, or we try to go to counseling, and then he just filed a case.
And then moved out, right? So maybe it was sort of one of those things where it's like he's going to stay home, put up a face for the public, especially because she is in public office, and kind of just do it in this slow fade versus sort of storming out or walking out, or whatever you want to call it. So the interesting thing is Michigan has a 180-day waiting period, which means that the case cannot finalize before approximately July 25th of 2026, according to this article. So she's currently campaigning for re-election, and she asked publicly for privacy for her children. And she is obviously in Congress, and her husband is reportedly a university professor.
Okay. The kids would say it's a little sus. So just kind of like, I'm wondering, were you? It's possible. I mean, I'm not calling her a liar. I don't know. It's her life. But
No, not at all.
I always think it takes 2 people to get divorced, aside from abuse and neglect situations or some extreme things like that. There's 2 people to get married, 2 people to get divorced. And if you're blindsided by somebody leaving, that in and of itself is evidence of a problem. That you're so clueless about the problems in your marriage, this person leaves and that shocks you. That's short of an afternoon drama on TV. Nobody's happy to see it. I'm not talking about that. This is sad to hear about this. In my book, I Just Want This Done, How Smart, Successful People Get Divorced Without Losing Their Kids' Money and Minds, available on Amazon. Bestseller, 9,000 copies sold, which is epic by even a normal publisher. See why people love it. You'll find out. Great reviews on Amazon. Anyway, it's a divorce guide. And what I would advise is preparing in advance. And then in my upcoming book, I Just Want to Know, which is about deciding on divorce, you should be going through counseling and talking to your spouse and trying to see if it's worth saving the relationship. So this is kind of like and also I talk about the importance of being prepared. This shows you what happens when you don't prepare. You're getting caught flat-footed. And there is something to be said about a race to the courthouse and who files first. There is a slight advantage to being first. So let's lead into the deep dive. First, we have a legal news item and then a deep dive into crypto. We try to talk about legal changes in the law in the United States because they're interesting. Rahul, tell us about the Missouri divorce law, this House Bill 1908.
Yeah, so this was just passed in Missouri. The governor signed it into law, which basically said that judges are not allowed to delay a divorce from happening if it involves a pregnant spouse. So it sounds like previously that was being done, which was because someone was pregnant, that the court would necessarily not enter a divorce until the child was born. So HB 1908 states, pregnancy status shall not prevent the court from entering a judgment of dissolution of marriage or legal separation. So this passed unanimously in both the State House and the Senate, and this will modify a state measure enacted in 1970s requiring couples to disclose whether the wife is pregnant. That often led to judges in the state to prevent the divorce from being finalized, like you said, probably because they want to deal with things like custody and child support, things like that. And Missouri was among a handful of states, including Texas, where divorce proceedings are frequently paused by judges during a spouse's pregnancy.
Okay.
So
you can imagine that rationale made sense back in the day, but now with DNA testing and everything, it's silly. We just, get the divorce done. When the baby's born, we can find out who the daddy is and figure out child support. It's not hard to do. The bill came from a person who was abused in her relationship, and she was forced to stay married because she was pregnant, and it was a messy situation, and she was in this abusive situation and forced to stay in this marriage longer than she should have. So that's where that came from. But we always like to mention these developments in the law, small, big, whatever, because it's important to stay on top of these things. So, okay, next I want to talk about crypto, because we really haven't gone into a deep dive on crypto and divorce. We talked about it here and there. We've touched on it, but there's a crypto divorce cliff really, and it's really starting to hit divorce cases because millennials who are they're starting to get in the divorce age now. So they're in their late 20s, early 30s. They've invested in crypto more than any other generation. And these assets have grown in value tremendously. The joke was, people bought pizza with 10 Bitcoin back in 2010 or whatever.
right.
And now 10 Bitcoin is worth, $600,000, $700,000. So, and has been worth, $1 million, 10 Bitcoin at times. So a lot of this stuff is tremendously increased in value. Some of it's disappeared and become worthless. Like we were joking about NFTs. Bitcoin is creating a lot of, we've got articles here we've linked, but hidden Bitcoin's causing chaos in divorce courts because a lot of it is very hard to trace. And the real challenge is a lot of times in divorce cases with finance, we can find the money outflows from a bank account, and those gains in value are modest. So let's say, we can usually see that $100,000 left the bank accounts in the last 5 years or whatever. And usually we can trace it to another asset that's now worth let's say it was $100,000 when it went out. And now the asset's worth $125,000 5 years later. It went to a different bank account. It went into some other vehicle or investment. And usually forensic people are able to find that. The trick with Bitcoin is if somebody was married in, let's say in those early crypto days, they might have put $100 into Bitcoin or been Bitcoin mining back in the day. All that Bitcoin went into what they call a wallet, which is imagine a hard drive or a virtual or physical device like a thumb drive that holds the data that's essentially holding the information about the Bitcoin. Or it's sitting in Coinbase or one of the public exchanges, but the spouse doesn't know about it. It was just this goofy hobby that the husband had or wife had. Usually it's a guy, let's be honest. And they socked it away, and they're sitting on what's now worth millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they just never mentioned it. And it was just a lark. Or they're actively trading and they're still keeping it quiet because they don't want to tell their spouse. Well, if they're not using a public exchange, it's very hard to trace. And you're really left with them disclosing voluntarily whether they have it or not. There are some subpoenas you can send out and some things you can do, and there are forensic experts that can help trace it. But it is definitely a challenge. And there are people that are specialized in hunting for crypto now. There are experts that do that. So Yahoo Finance came up with this phrase recently about this crypto divorce cliff. And the idea is that millennials hold a disproportionate share of crypto and they're starting to get divorced. And adoption has exploded. Bitcoin has obviously been near all-time highs. Family courts are really trying to catch up. And a lot of the judges are boomers or they're Gen Xers. They don't really understand the technology. So we have more people owning crypto, more people divorcing, and courts are really trying to figure out how to handle it. Also, the values of these assets jump up and down constantly. So there's no stability in the value of these assets. So there's two types of, we want to talk about this. There's crypto stored in a wallet traded on exchanges like Coinbase, Binance, Kraken. There's two kinds of wallets that are called hot wallets, which are online. Then there's cold wallets that are offline, like physical hardware where you put your information. There's a famous story about a guy who had it on a hard drive in England, and like it got thrown in the garbage And the guy famously was going through like an entire landfill to find it because it's worth millions of dollars. Still hasn't found it. That the risk of a cold wallet is you become your own security service. And you have no way to, if you forget the password or the passkey, you're done. There's supposedly people that work on cracking it, but I wouldn't count on it. So in Illinois, we treat it like any other asset. It's marital property or non-marital, depending on when it was acquired. That's going to be equitably divided. Premarital crypto is separate property if you can trace it, and the person claiming it's non-marital has to prove it's non-marital. So similar to community property state, you have to show it's not community property, that it's separate property, and you have to avoid commingling. So if you're commingling marital crypto with non-marital crypto in a wallet, you might taint that. The three main ways you see crypto being hidden is simple non-disclosure and hiding it in private wallets, cold wallets. The classic boat accident excuse, which is the old joke with guns. Oh, I was in a boat accident and the private keys fell into the ocean. I don't know what happened to it. Or I sent the key to I sent it to the wrong address and the money's gone. Or I was hacked and the money's gone. But the blockchain, folks, the interesting thing about crypto is there's a public recording of every transaction. So if that is true, if the money really was moved out of the person's possession, there is a record and you should be able to, that person can prove it on the blockchain. Moving coins across wallets. They buy it on Coinbase, which requires an ID and can be traced. They move it to a personal wallet. Then they move it to cold storage. The spouse thinks the trail ends with, I withdrew the money and spent it, lost it, whatever. But the trail doesn't end there. The blockchain is forever and can show what happened to it. There's coins called Monero, Zcash. There's mixing services that are made to obscure the trail. There's services created to block people tracing. The reason there's so much criminal stuff now, and you hear hostages being taken and they want Bitcoin, because it's so easy to transfer and it's so hard to track. Using those services, if they're using Monero, Zcash, and other mixing services, that alone is evidence that they're concealing stuff. And then the classic one is the gift card trick, using crypto to buy gift cards or buying physical, buy gift cards or property with crypto to create value without a paper trail. You can have cases where somebody loads up on tons of Amazon cards because it's essentially cash. When you buy gift cards, you're buying cash. And here's how forensic investigators can catch them. And we've got stories linked here you can take a look at. Crypto purchases start on an exchange like Coinbase typically, and the major exchanges require identity verification. Once you can show they bought it, then you can subpoena the exchange for records. Then you've got on-chain analysis. So if it's on the blockchain, you can analyze what's happening with the transactions and trace the Bitcoin movements. If it's moved on the chain, it's traceable, which is good news. There's a Nashville case mentioned in the Yahoo Finance piece. A couple spent almost $100,000 in forensic fees to trace 18 Bitcoin, but the hiding spouse was ordered to cover those fees. So if somebody is actively concealing money, it's likely the court would order them to cover those expert expenses to trace it down if they're hiding the ball. So there are solutions to this that are important to know. It isn't that it's impossible, it's just difficult. Also, look at pattern of life. And this is something we've done forever. This pattern of life evidence is not unusual, but we say look for holes in the bucket. If the income is $500,000 a year, but they're only spending $400,000 a year and you don't see that other $100,000, it's going somewhere. So are there any changes in patterns of life, unusual purchases, unusual travel, a bunch of some new email addresses, new devices that the spouse didn't know anything about? So there's a new iPad that shows up or a laptop they never seem to use when you're around, that they don't let you use. Late night work on the computer. Forensic tech people call that digital habit analysis. So what are their habits with digital devices? And then every tax return since 2019 asks about crypto. So legally, at least, they're supposed to disclose it. Now, if they're willing to hide the crypto, they're probably willing to defraud the government. So you could check tax returns, but it isn't a guarantee. So one thing to mention about valuation of crypto, that the crypto can move up and down. So how is it valued? Courts typically value on the date of dissolution, the end of the case. So that's important, not what it was before, but what it was currently. Typically, courts will try to divide this type of asset equally so that movements up and down kind of equally affect people. Sometimes a court might penalize by, if there's an undisclosed asset, a court might award more of it to the other party. That's possible, and award their attorney's fees. Theoretically, could be subject to perjury or fraud charges, though my guess is that's going to be unusual. the IRS could get involved with failure to disclose. The judges in Illinois don't report stuff to the IRS. And typically we don't as lawyers. There's a reason why. We don't need the heat on the couple. And typically if there's concealment from taxes, that's going to hit both people, generally speaking. It becomes a debt of the marriage usually. So here's some practical advice. If you suspect crypto, don't look at peek through the computer yourself. There's chain of custody issues. You'll be accused of, messing with the evidence and they'll start pointing fingers at you. Talk to your lawyer, get an expert involved, tell your attorney, we can subpoena the exchanges. We can get a temporary restraining order and grab the computer and create an image of it. An expert can create an instant image of that machine and then return the computer right away. So then they can dig around and find out what's in that machine. And you want to do it in a surprise situation so they don't have time to wipe any drives. If they have sudden interest in tech or finance, they're talking all of a sudden about Bitcoin and stuff like that. That's a heads up to you. If there's packages from Ledger or Trezor, those are hardware wallet brands that ship the physical wallets to people. Unexplained income or purchases. All of a sudden they're buying expensive stuff. That doesn't make sense. Computer use patterns change. Now they're getting on late at night when they didn't before. If you own crypto and you're going into divorce, we always advocate disclose it. Don't hide it. It doesn't pay in the long run. We're not those guys. If you want to hide something and go to the Cook Islands, that's on you. Good luck to you. So that's not our client. I don't want to work for those folks. So we're not into deceit and deception here. And it's illegal. So you're going to get in trouble with the IRS. One of my mentors said many years ago, his name is Brian Gorelli. He's a smart attorney. He said, clean living pays off. And he was talking about a client that hadn't paid their taxes for several years and they were getting whacked by the IRS big time. And his whole point was pay your bills, pay your taxes, be straight up. It pays off in the long run. If you have crypto and getting married, we want prenup. Define it and nail it down in a prenup, exactly how much crypto you have. So there's no disputes later, and keep marital crypto separate in a separate wallet, please. The big lesson in 2026, this old rule of follow the money, which we've done forever, has a new subset called follow the blockchain. A blockchain is public and permanent. Unlike paper records, you can't shred it. Now, the digital traces people leave are much better than we used to have. With paper records, things would disappear. Now, digital typically lasts a long time. Now, a lot of digital records are destroyed after like 7 years. But so if it's way in the past, you may have trouble. But a lot of things are traceable. Rahul, any thoughts, comments on that?
No, I think that's pretty comprehensive sort of a primer on what crypto is and how it's typically manifested in a divorce. And so try to make sure that your lawyer, if you are dealing with this, is competent on these issues.
Yeah, exactly. So next, we got to talk about Bruce Lee because our favorite guy on Psychology Today has something to say. Rahul, tell us about the new dating trend. We try to humor everybody with dating trends. We got a new one for you. Just when we thought we've gone through like a list of them. What we've had what? There's a whole bunch of them we've talked about, like ghosting, and what was that other one? There was one like a mix of ghosting and something else.
Yeah. It escapes me now, but yeah, every episode almost we have something.
There's so many dating trend terms. So what's this new one?
So this is the worst new dating trend of 2026, right? So this is from, like you said, a Bruce Y. Lee article from Psychology Today. 3 signs your date is seagulling you, like the bird. Seagulling is when someone has no real romantic interest in you, but keeps stringing you along to prevent anyone else from having you. This is named famously after seagull behavior of grabbing food they don't want just so other seagulls can't have it. I didn't know they did that, but I guess they do. This is a phrase or term coined by Bruce Lee. And unlike ghosting, the seagull actively keeps you hooked. Occasional texts, sporadic plans, just enough hope to prevent you from moving on. Different from benching, which is parking someone for later. Seagulling is actively possessive without any real intent. So there's always something new.
It sounds like a situationship kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah, exactly. And, it's like 3 signs you're being seagulled, right? 1, they escalate contact whenever you're pulling away. 2, they never actually plan real dates or make real commitments. 3, they get weirdly possessive when you mention other people. Like you said, is this a situationship repackaged, or is there something more distinctive here?
Yeah, and then I think you can get a feeling when it's not real. If they're blowing off like 3 dates in a row, a couple dates in a row, time to move on, Don't waste your time.
Last line, right? Here's how you test it. You just ask directly, what are we doing here? A seagull will redirect or deflect. The real person or person with real interest will answer that question.
Yeah. Just be straight up and ask the question. And the key is don't be afraid of not having the relationship, because I think people stay in things out of fear they won't find the next person. Got to have the attitude of abundance, Rahul. There's always another fish in the sea. And it will, just when you think it's not happening, that person comes along. So anyway, with that said, want to wrap this up, and a couple things. Remember us, STG Divorce Law, for consultations. If you're going through divorce and suspect your spouse suspect your spouse might be hiding assets, crypto or otherwise, come talk to us. We know who to talk to. We know how to deal with this. If you have a complex estate, you have a lot of property, you have a prenup, you own a business, you're a professional, or you're married to that person, we are your folks. This is what we do every day. We represent smart, successful people who are in the process of divorce or considering divorce. It's never too early to talk to us to find out what's involved, and we're happy to educate and inform you. There is no obligation. We'll talk to you, and we'll find out what we can do to maybe help you. And whether you think you'll need us in a year or in a month, please contact us at stgdivorcelaw.com or stglawfirm.com. Easy to find us. We're in the Chicagoland area. We work in Cook County and the Collier counties. We've been at this a long time and have an awesome team. Please remember, the planner's philosophy for divorce is set forth in my book, I Just Want This Done: How Smart, Successful People Get Divorced Without Losing Their Kids, Money, and Minds. Available on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, and where all great ebooks are sold. A bestseller still 5 years after publication. Next week, we're going to be on with another great episode of the show. Rahul, how can people find you online?
You can find me on Instagram at Chicago Divorce and on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And I'm available at Rayford Palmer on all the major social platforms, TikTok, Instagram, X. And you can find our Facebook group, the Illinois Divorce Support Network, free to join, anonymous to post, and folks will answer your questions, including us. We will occasionally answer questions in the episodes themselves, or we will answer them in line in texts in the Facebook group. And again, anonymous to post. So don't have to reveal your name. And the group in there is very helpful. We got about 1,700 members and growing, and they're very supportive of each other. So check that out. Tons of information in there. And the group is fully searchable, going back several years now, with answers to every question you can ever think of. So that's it for us. Thanks for watching the live stream. For those of you watching the live, we appreciate you. Like, share, follow for more like this. If you like the show, please give us a review on your favorite platform so that other folks can find the show. We really appreciate it. We do this for free. Our gentleman's agreement with you is we do the show for free. We put in the work. All we ask you to do is give us a review. Thank you very much, folks. We appreciate you listening. Reviews on Apple Podcasts and YouTube are really valuable for us. Thanks for listening. Everybody have a great day and a great week. We'll see you next week.